Hey, man.
How you doing?
I'm all right. Tired.
You ain't the only one. And shoot, we gonna for all y'all people that heard the intro last week, we gonna skip that intro because I'm too tired to do the shit and frustrated, man. I
Two old men bitching about wrestling. Why don't they work a headlock?
thank thank
Here's your intro.
you. Just
I don't like.
you,
I like. Get off my lawn. Work a headlock. There's your intro.
yeah. Just first, before we get into this, we always catch up and everything. Man, I have no internet, no cable. I can't even see the
Oh, that's...
time in 46 years. This when I don't even was. I the Super Bowl. And for the first time in my adult life, I'm about to miss a Super Bowl, which I'm very curious to damn see, which is funny.
I mean, you can't. You're not. Maybe hit a bar, or somebody's going to be showing it.
Oh no, because shit, there ain't even no bar nearby here. And for me, the Super Bowl, I have to go see this.
Yeah.
Just Super Bowl. I don't want to none of them damn residents.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. Mm-mm. I've been having that kind of a week. And on top of that, imagine me doing all of what I do and through a phone.
Yeah.
Through a phone is torture.
Yeah, this was an unusually busy week, and I talked about you a couple times because I actually had some. This is a rare treat, even though it was several long days in a row with a lot of driving. I actually got to perform in state, which for me is a massive treat. You would think being
I know you enjoyed that because you had to go far.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of bitterness, but also just at times frustration. But as far as to my knowledge, I am the only legitimate white male talent in all of Atlanta, and you would think that would be worth something, but technically, a counterfeit peso has more worth. So I don't get to, if I so. But no, I actually worked with two. This week I worked with Princess Havoc. We haven't seen each other in almost a year, and we did a fun little scene. I bought some props. I'm always buying stuff to make a scene. I'm building up a studio wardrobe, and we had some fun there. And then actually, you connected us. I met and worked with Abbi Rhodes all day yesterday, and we got a lot of stuff done. And and I told her, I said, if you keep your head on straight and focus on business, you're going to be huge, because she has a world of potential. And
she's got a big body and a great attitude.
Great attitude, beautiful body. She is my age, like older, in their 40s, but doesn't look it. And she told me, and she basically can be the MILF or she could be the GILF. And I told her she should aim for the GILF, because that I'm just like a reverse interracial with a white guy, black girl. GILF is not an oversaturated market yet. So I told her, I said, I told her I would kind of help point her in a direction. There's a couple of websites that would hire her in a minute, 40 something from Scoreland, or her mom would hire her in a minute. And she we did a little bit of acting, and I think that was her first acting scene, and she pulled it off. I mean, we're talking about working together once a month, and just trading, because she lives in the ass end of Georgia. So we would talk, and every month we'll trade off on who comes to who, and just film a couple of scenes. And because she likes to do the same stuff that I like to do, I'd like to do plots and stuff and make it a little goofy, stay away from the you have no money, or you're stranded on the side of the road. and do stuff like more to the homage to the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I was telling her that. Yeah,
and,
because
go ahead.
Not because for one, like I told her that gift market is very, very lucrative.
And like I said, not overcrowded.
And that she can get away. She can really benefit from doing role play, fuck scenes, or anything like that, because she got that look of where she's a business, as a librarian, as a flight attendant. Yeah. It's play, and she'll get over because of age.
Yeah, that's actually, you're right on. We need to maybe start a studio, because we did a scene where we just kind of did it, and we was like, let's do it gentle and whatever, and we did a scene, and it was like instant chemistry, and we got like a lot of, just in, because you want to stop the video every I don't know, roughly around every 7 to 10 minutes, so it makes it easier to move the videos to other places. And we just kept going, and we it was like we've been working together forever. And then the second scene, which I came up with an idea, it was like an insurance scam, and she came in, and she looked like a doctor coming to make sure I wasn't pulling a scheme. And she had like a sweater on, the short skirt, she had her hair up, and yeah, you're right, like nurse, she was I said like farmer's daughter, and she's in for all that. And she, like I said, she was a game player, and she was fun to be around the whole time. And I actually got to talk to her today after we're done with this. And so yeah, like I'm excited because at least like Princess of Havoc and I work very well together, and I sell very well for her. But given what she does on the norm, we can't work together as much as I would like, because it's the law of diminishing returns. Like when I pop up on her stuff, it's special. Yeah. Lady Onyx is another local. If I was able to work with her this week, it would be the trifecta. Lady Onyx is incredible and amazing and wonderful. But she's really busy. I haven't been able to get a hold of her. But with Abbi and I think we can build like a third brand separate. Yeah. Like make it like a couple, almost like a couples thing, where it's always some kind of scenario. But no, she's game. Oh, and and you probably know this, she looks like a young Ellen Barkin. And I was like, I joked to her, I'm like, now I know what it's like to fuck Ellen Barkin, and thank you for that. And she laughed. And
Yeah, because to me, for some girls, less is more. Not every girl's into BDSM. Not every girl is, just the simple role play scenes can boost a person's career. And also because you're playing into the average man's fantasy. And that to me is kind of like this. That's more profitable than anything else, because I know she's not a BDSM girl. So like I said, with her doing those type role plays, it'll make her stand out even more and attract more. And her being a MILF and slash GILF, dudes don't want to see girls no more, dog. They want to see older women. Or if she's young, she got to look older. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again, people want to see plots. They just Brazzers comes up with really funny, interesting ideas, but their setup takes. And I understand why they do it, because they put a lot of money into their shit, and they charge, like a lot for their website. So it's like, we're giving you this. I found 5 to 7 minutes of actual plot setup, and then staying in character, and depending on the situation, staying in the outfit as much as you can. That's not to give it away, it's gonna be out fairly. I would like to get it out fairly quickly. I need to talk to her about it, but I was basically trying to scam the insurance company, And she came in and basically we did the setup of I got to go through one more physical. I think they're going to send some crotchety old man who's like 90. I'm going to get my check and I'm going to be on Easy Street. In walks in and she's got like a sweater on and like a skirt and stocking, but it's tight and kind of skimpy, but it's very professional looking. And she's doing this examination and she's kind of like just getting in my face and doing all this stuff. And then it just kind of slowly escalates. And then a great sex scene. And then at the end, a little comedy, because that's when she reveals to me as I'm like sweating and huffing and puffing on the edge of the bed. And, she's holding the check up and, she's covered in my cum and everything. And she's, the sweater's ripped open and her boobs are and everything. And she's like, yes, actually, I'm from the fraud department. And and she tears up the check and throws it in my face and then just leaves. And I'm like, it was worth it. And, just kind of collapse. And she was on point with everything. And, she's done some stuff, but she paid me a huge compliment and this is not a knock on anybody she's worked with up until then, if they hear this, but she considered that her first real boy girl, like professional scene, because she's done some stuff and she's still learning, but this was, she, really enjoyed the experience, which I take great pride in. But also just, that was like her first one with a plot and acting and everything. And had we had a cameraman, we did really well with the camera angles and everything. But had we had a cameraman, it would have been really fire. But you can't underestimate the value of a good camera person. But we did some great stuff, and yeah, no, it was instant chemistry and everything. And we talked about you, and she said you wanted to have her back on the show, and I was like, yeah, no, he's a hustler, and he's straight up honest. A little inside baseball for the audience. When Kavanaugh proposed this show to me, I was all about it. And I said, since he's doing all the heavy lifting and I'm just coming on here running my mouth, you said, 50-50 down the middle. And I was like, well, you're doing a little bit more of the work. So I said, I'm okay with 60-40, 70-30. And you were like, nope, 50-50. So, straight up dude, grinds and hustles and, and doing big things with this podcasting thing. So, she thinks the world of you. She's looking forward to coming back on the show. Same thing with Princess Havoc.
Yeah. I enjoy talking to I love talking to Princess Havoc, man, because she always gives good takes on the on anything that we do. I just love that girl, man. Period. So now we got through the week. It's time for people waiting for. It's time to talk to Gordon Solie.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we got through that quick. I like that.
Yeah. A second. Sorry, technical difficulties. Come on, Gordon, you there?
You're channeling.
Wait, sorry. Gordon's had one too many cocktails today. He's coming.
Yeah.
Hello again, friends, and welcome to Gordon Solie's Poetry Corner. And we'd like to take a break from the battles of the Crimson Mask and the mat wars of pro wrestling and take a little journey into the world of prose. So sit down, relax, and join me, if you will, before we get back to the action. Self-menagerie. Man must justify. This is true. Yet so many refuse to deny. Ours is not a small scope to see, but a broad, encompassing menagerie. Each little animal struggles to exist, with no thoughts of his brothers save to subsist. We call on our gods for wisdom and truth, yet we ourselves stay locked in a booth, slit open the doors, step out into the light, and then, my friends, offer the fight. And to you, and I want to leave you with a message before we get back to the wrestling action and an interview with the great Dusty Rhodes. Life can be hard. And sometimes you have to retreat, and sometimes you have to just grab your problems by the waist and give it a solid souffle. Because there's always another day to fight. So thank you for sharing this moment with me, Gordon Soley. And now we bring you back to Pilgrim on Wrestling. You won't be disappointed.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're now in the pro wrestling smoke of our show. And I hope y'all enjoyed the poetry rates of our sports, Gordon Soley. Welcome back, Billy.
Hey, no, Gordon really seems to knock it out and stay in the voice when he's just woken up, and so who knows, we may have to do these early morning, But thank you, Gordon. Not a problem, Chuck. We love you.
So you're gonna have to lead this because I have what's the word I'm looking for? You have to lead this because I didn't really see much. I was able just to catch up with some of the what is it? God damn it, what they call it? The results.
Yeah.
For the most part. So where you want to begin, brother?
Well, unfortunately, I kind of had a little bit of the same problem. I have not had a chance. The last couple of days, like I said, the last 4 days up until now have been a little crazy. It's been a lot of driving and running around and doing things. So I have not had a chance to keep up with wrestling. I'm actually I have AEW on the background of my little podcast studio, but I have the sound off. I managed to do, and I did focus on getting the research done for the Black Wrestling History Profile, because that was something you actually had a thing. So I think this week you're going to get a very, we're still hammering down the recording schedule. Every episode gets better. And again, we live real lives, so we're not making the big bucks just yet to afford us the free time. So we do apologize, but we know enough about what's going on in wrestling that we can kind of have a discussion about it. And so actually, this is the thing. I'm
about to pull up this thing real quick.
What was that?
So we can begin with the WWE. First off, why is we seeing Goldberg again? I mean, I'm a Goldberg fan. I love Goldberg. Don't get it twisted. But his matches are just, and you putting him against Roman.
Well, it's laziness. WWE's been doing this for now decades, where the Attitude Era was the most profitable era in the company. It allowed Vince to go public and make him all the money, and that's the thing too. When you go public in the business, it doesn't actually ever, if anything, it diminishes the quality of a business. It just means the people who run it get to make more money, and then all the quality control goes out the window because you get some 2-inch dick having white chubby guy behind the desk crying like, well, I want to make an extra nickel on this stock this year, so why don't you stop doing this or take away this so I can make that extra nickel because I only have 2 yachts, or my kid's only going to 1 Ivy League school and I'm poor. Chick-fil-A I always hold up as a perfect example. Despite their caveman-like philosophy to social issues, it's a fucking amazing chicken sandwich, which proves that intolerance makes the chicken tender and tasty. But everybody in the South eats it. Gay, black, straight. I mean, people can't resist it. And because one family owns it and they have a standard and they know how to run that business. I mean, it's probably the best run and operated fast food chain. And I guarantee you, I said, if they ever go public, you're going to see all that go away. And that's and then they're gonna be put on Sundays. They're gonna the quality of the food's gonna go down and everything, and so that was the era that made Vince really rich, and that was the last time he had major stars, and he brings them back, and then he puts them over on his current stars, which gets a pop for the fans that don't. There are a certain subset of WWE fans that don't know their head from their ass. They just know WWE. So that's what they like. And they go to the shows and everything, or the people that like may turn it on for 5 minutes go, oh yeah, I remember when I was a teenager. There's Goldberg, but it just hurts their business. And and again, it's the law of diminishing returns. People are getting older.
But I think what's the motherfucker? The Arab Prince really likes Goldberg, and I think
which is funny because he's a Jew.
I mean, he must have been a huge there was in WCW. I'm just saying, bro, because to me, one, the match itself is not going to be as good as it could, as it probably could be, period. Now the question is, which someone brought this was that have go over on the back. That wouldn't make any fucking sense.
No, that would be no, they're not going to do that. That would be the absolute worst possible thing. Like if they did that, then that's all. Then any pro WWE defenders, you lost the case. Like in court, it's just because they have 2 world championships, and no offense to Bobby Lashley, who if you were going to have a world champion, but with Roman, it's been 500 some days. It's getting really close to 2 years, and that's the only real world title because he hasn't lost it. And it's holding on to it. The promos, the thing with Paul Heyman, it's the only good thing he got going.
On WWE, period.
And here's the thing, whatever happens at WrestleMania, I have a feeling they're going to cram in a lame-ass title versus title, or they're going to do a stupid 3-way. Either way, Roman Reigns needs to win, and you need to keep that belt on him, even if it's for 3 years, until you find somebody that can take it off and actually hold it for a long time, because you now
it's not Brock Lesnar.
Well, Brock just takes the check and then goes home and then comes back. And here's the other thing: you've now built up such an equity, so whoever takes it off him, you have to basically build him up to that. And again, he has to hold it for a while, otherwise if you put it back on Roman again, you ruin it. So. And you can't have The Rock do it. People keep talking about, The Rock's going to come back.
He's not doing Black Adam and a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah, he's got like stuff coming out the ass, and he apparently is so busy that I mean, it could have been his dad just being a dick. But when his dad's biography was being written by Scott Teal, The Rock was supposed to write the foreword, which I'm sure he would have done. It's his father. But Rocky Johnson told Scott Teal that, oh, no, my son's entirely too busy to write, 2 pages praising me. So Scott Teal wrote the foreword and just said The Rock wrote it. I'm sure he had permission, but, that foreword, if you're one of the few that own that book, and I own it, it's not The Rock that wrote it. It's Scott Teal, and he's too busy. Plus, he's like literally worth billions. There is no way, there is no amount of money or offer Vince McMahon can make that would allow that a studio would allow him to get in the ring, even for his cousin, and either one lose, and he can't win because it's like, well. Like you said, Black Adam. He has the Fast and the Furious spinoff series that and he's got all these other stuff coming out. You can't defend this, so they've weirdly booked themselves into a corner, but in a good way. In that, if they just leave it alone, then it could go for a while. But again, they don't make stars anymore, and they don't book anybody to be worth anything. So it's like, well, after this, who's Roman gonna work with? You have to repair McIntyre, you have to repair Big E, you have to repair a lot of wrestlers. Because you say this week, oh, now he's mad and now he's coming out there and he's gonna be a goddamn contender. Like, really? Well, then in that case, I'm the best porn star in the world, and Bradley should hire me tomorrow, and I'm gonna fuck everybody, and I'm gonna be the best. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You know, their lazy booking is slowly biting them in the ass because, you know, these guys are getting older, even though they're in great shape. And it's one thing to be in great shape and be in that ring. Plus, it's a long flight to get there, and it's hot as fuck. They keep having outdoor venues. It's hot. It's a weird heat that Americans are not used to. That's what happened with the Goldberg Undertaker thing. It wasn't that he was out of shape. It was that it was a long ass flight. Both of these guys in their 50s and beaten up. Undertaker more so, and then this crushing heat, and I mean, come on, I get it. You're a genetic phenom, but Father Time is unbeaten. It's like obviously it's the Saudi people that always want him there, which again, it's hilarious because he's a Jew, I think Roman needs to squash him. I think Roman needs to beat his ass in under 5 minutes.
Yeah, actually.
And you know what?
And to me, that would make sense to put Roman even more stronger because he did something that Brock didn't do.
Yeah, and here's the thing. The wrestling business has made Goldberg rich and famous. The wrestling business has given Goldberg more than Goldberg has given the wrestling business. Mm-hmm. So I would like to think, because I like him as a person, I don't like him as a wrestler. I would like to think he would have the brains in his head if somebody, because if I was the booker of the match, I go, look, here's the deal. You're going to go out there. You're going to give him one of your big moves. He's going to pop up. He's going to basically do a couple of his things, and then he's going to put your ass down and choke you out. And that's it. And it's going to go about 5 to 7 minutes. And if Goldberg has learned anything, it's like, you're rich, you're Goldberg, you're never going to, you can afford to lose 5 minutes. Especially to, and of all wrestlers, Roman Reigns, you've been given so much. And if that actually did happen, I would have a whole new opinion of Goldberg, because I never had a high opinion of him. I always felt he was a little bratish and a little spoiled and a little whiny when it came to the wrestling business. After like the first couple of months of his initial run, it got old with me. Then when he kept coming back, and then, just everything, it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. If he goes to Saudi Arabia and just lets Roman squash him in the convincing fashion, it just lays there, then I'll be like, you know what? He finally got it. All is forgiven. I don't have a bad word to say about Goldberg ever again, but it remains to be seen. I mean, I refuse to watch it because, again, I don't like Saudi Arabia, and I'm probably
watching because I know it'll probably be during the day while I'm at work, so it give me something to look at while I'm at work.
I don't know when it is.
So, because I know they be doing that shit like in the freaking day, so everybody down.
Yeah, well, it's because it's on the other side of the world. I mean, it's I'm sure they'll do a replay, obviously, but it's. I mean, I don't know. That whole Saudi Arabia thing rubs me the wrong way, but WWE has time and again shown they don't really have much in the way of integrity. So,
But speaking about that, because it's interesting that you mentioned the double champion thing. I truly believe that when they do the elimination chamber, Goldberg coming out champ. Because, like I said before, we talked about last week, do you want Goldberg to be pinned? Not Goldberg, excuse me. Lord have mercy. Lesnar to be pinned going into WrestleMania. That's the kicker. And clean. Because, unless you're going to have, which probably going to happen, period. I would think that if you're not going to put the belt on Goldberg, put the belt on Lesnar, take him out before the match so that he's not even involved. Period. Because then what you're going to do, he probably going to be the last two in the ring with Lashley. You're going to have Lashley get a pin over on him? Come on.
And here's the thing. Again, I feel like they booked themselves into a corner because the other legitimate champion star you have is Bobby Lashley, and you already had, again, he lost the belt to Big E, which wasn't anything wrong with that. But Big E, basically, you sandbagged him as a champion, so there was something wrong with that. You're only as good as the guy that beat you. And, like Ric Flair had great matches with George South. George South never won the world title. There's a reason for that. So you kind of, turned Big E, who could have been a big, champion for you, turned him into George South. And so now, okay, you're going to have him lose the belt for the sake of a title versus title match. You're diminishing Lashley's value because you're not going to allow somebody to hold. You didn't do it with the women. You're not going to allow them to hold both belts. So even if Lashley gets it back after WrestleMania, then, he only got it back because the other guy gave it up. And then on top of it, or even if you work him into like a three-way, you ruin the match because people want Lesnar Reigns. That's it. No three-way. If they don't do a three-way, which they shouldn't, then who is Lashley going to wrestle at WrestleMania? It's like you're cutting the nuts off a guy. And here's the best part. Again, no disrespect to Lesnar, but Lesnar is not there. Lesnar shows up, gets his check. He shows up long enough until eventually he gets tired of being paid billions, and he tells Vince, I'm going home. Don't call me for 6 months. Lashley, at the age of 45, is out there looking like $1 million. And for a big athletic guy who looks like he's 30, he is putting in work. He's not just going out there and squashing people. He's going out there and having matches, making himself look good, and making his opponents look good. And he's got MVP out there being like the best manager in the business right now, and the whole nine. And you're cutting the guy's nuts off. You're right. Either he has to be fucked out of the match before the match, or something nefarious has to happen. And Lashley needs to win that match and stay champion, and you need to give him an opponent for WrestleMania that makes him look good. Because
person probably could. They'd have moved to SmackDown and put him back in the tag team with Kofi, and they don't even call him the New Day. They don't even call him the New Day, dog. They just Kofi and Big E, right? But they're the New Day. Yeah, and Vince, once again, his warped thought process, because I heard backstage wise, he really likes the New Day, and if you felt that they are so marketable, why? Yeah, no, it's all good. That was on me. But I was saying though, like Vince, his thought process, right, is that what's what I'm looking for. His thought process, for what I heard, is that a face should not be in a clique. But a face supposed to have friends. You feel me? The heel did not have friends. Anytime we have a heel clique is mutual interest, per se. You feel what I'm coming from? And to me, that's kind of crazy, because if you like New Day, why'd you split them in the first place? And then if you like Big E, why did you have Big E lose the way he is and then quietly moved him out of the title hunt?
Well, the New Day have been fan favorites for years now and a massive money-making machine. And they've proven to have great matches. They can all cut promos. Like I said, this is how talented these fuckers are, and not counting wrestling ability. They got every color. Shit, these motherfuckers made up colors to wear. They got those colors over. They got a fucking trombone. No, actually, they got 2 trombones, plural, over. They got fucking unicorn horns. They got fucking pancakes. They got fucking cereal. They, every ridiculous goddamn thing that you would think would make them like ineffectual comedy act. They got over, and that company cashed in on every. And as much as New Day makes money, the WWE makes way more. They got all that shit over, and still were able to be taken seriously because they could cut the promos and they went in the ring and they delivered. So they didn't go out there and were like, the Keystone Cops and just fall over the place. They had amazing matches. They had all, and honestly, if you're not going to keep Kofi and or Biggie in the title picture and, and what have you intermittently and so on, there's no reason not to keep them together. And there's no reason to not keep a New Day. You might want to, if you feel like it's getting a little stale, take them off TV for a couple months and just pay them and say, hey, if you need a surgery, go get the surgery, get healed up, have some fun, and then come back and they'll be new again, get some fresh ideas, because these guys can get anything over. They're like the greatest trio clique. I would put them up there with the Freebirds because of what they've been able to do and achieve. And and I would put them up with the Freebirds because unlike the Freebirds, they don't have the ability to just go to a place for a year and then leave when they're hot. Go to another territory. They've been walking up the WWE bullshit hill for years and killing it. So Vince doesn't know what the fuck he's doing anymore. And I don't care if I offend if anybody's offended by the fact that Vince has completely, like, he never really had it. I think it was a lot of luck and just kind of having the talent carry the rest of his ideas the rest of the way. The New Day is money, and to separate them or to just kill it, it's stupid beyond belief.
Yeah.
It's moronic. And he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah. The other big news out of WWE is that Sami Zayn is now 2 times Intercontinental Champion. He beat Sasuke Nakamura over the this past Friday. And I was like, okay, which I don't mind Sami. I like Sami's being the champ or what have you. And then I kind of think whatever else done happened on Raw. Of course, the furthering of Becky Lynch versus Lita. She got over on Becky again this week. What do you think about that match between them?
Becky Lynch and I think it's a waste. I think they're squandering. Again, it's one of those things. Somebody gets over in a miraculous fashion, like a McIntyre or whatever, and then you just don't. Yeah. And Lita, I'm sorry, Lita was never that great of a wrestler. She wasn't. She was somebody who kind of mimicked the gimmick of the guy she was with, and she had a couple of moves, and she was competent. And it doesn't. Like, what is big time Beck's gonna get out of beating fucking Lita? Nothing. Like, why aren't you bringing back Bayley if she's ready to come back as like a dastardly heel? Why aren't you using Bianca Belair? Bianca Belair, I did not like her, and she won me over. And ironically, when she won me over, I'm like, okay, I was wrong. I was like, I was wrong, and now you're fucked because now I kind of like you. And anything I like from the WWE, they shit on. I felt bad.
Yeah, because to me, I would it is out of all the ladies that y'all have on that roster that you could have had a 3-way dance between Becky, Bianca, or even better, just had the 4-way with Doudrop, Becky, Bianca, and Liv. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, one, I don't see what this would do for Becky, because one, we haven't seen Lita in God knows how long. Okay, she hasn't wrestled in God knows how long. The win is not going to boost Becky as a champ. Period. Actuality, the women's match of the night is really going to be that tag match with Ronda Rousey and Naomi versus Charlotte and damn, what's her fucking name?
Ronda Rousey?
Huh? What's her damn name?
Ronda Rousey?
No, Ronda Rousey. No, the person gonna be tagging with Flair. Oh God, I cannot. Sorry to
Unfortunately, I'm blanking on her name.
Yeah, and which this past week, finally, after months, one call got her payback on her that, Vince said he sent the email saying he don't like authority figures that overuse their powers, and she can't touch Naomi, and Naomi slapped the shit out of her ass.
Yeah, well, finally you gave, and that's the other thing. There's another example of a talent that's gorgeous. Not, I mean, she's marketable in the sense that she's absolutely beautiful, athletic, talented. She's another one that, like, that glow thing never really did it for me, but she got it over. Again, a talent. Or why isn't she with the whole Roman Reigns thing? Like, move her to the brand and make her part of the
that's
whole.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I mean, because she's on SmackDown. Her husband is, they could easily. I would love to see Naomi as a heel, honestly.
Yeah, and she could do it.
And she'll make a way better heel than the face because the way she smack talk. And they could have easily shuffled that in to where Roman, like, look, give her a title match or I'm walking. You know what I'm saying? And then have Jimmy interfere by, distracting whomever, and she gets the pin.
Yeah,
and you got the bet off of Flair. You know what I'm saying? Let Flair go away for about a month or two. Take a vacation. Let what McCall build herself as a heel champion, and then try to bring. But even though it wouldn't make sense because it's nowhere in here you can ever make Charlotte Flair an actual face. But you can bring her back as a face or what have you, or have another girl get the belt off and kind of which before we get to AEW, I got to tell you this one because I'm reading news right now.
But by the way, Sonya Deville, no offense, sorry, it took me a second to go run through the thing. Sonya Deville, sorry, Sonya, great wrestler and a great, again, another multi-talented talent that's being wasted.
Yeah, because to me, she was like. Her and Liv Morgan, in my opinion, Mandy Rose, they were the next tier. They was the next up for me. Because Mandy had the look, Mandy could actually fucking wrestle. And she's proven that in NXT.
Yeah.
Right now. Sonya Deville had great matches. And I don't know whether she was injured or they feel some type of way because she's lesbian and don't want her in the ring bullshit, because you know how homophobic a certain McMahon can be. And
no, the WWE is racist as fuck. I mean, people
and homophobic.
Here's the thing.
Fuck.
Hipster wrestling fans drive me nuts because they'll claim to be a fan of wrestling and then they go on podcasts and whatever. A lot of comedians when I was a comic were wrestling fans, and then they would do these podcasts and they would just basically take nothing but jabs at pro wrestling, going, "Oh, it's racist," and dun 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 dun. And I'm like, okay, how do you if it's so horrible and it's such a disgusting thing? You're not talking about the Jim Barnetts or the Pat Pattersons or the the Rocky Johnsons or what have you, but you're always taking pot shots at it. Why are you a fan of it then? I don't understand what the fuck you're. I mean, wrestling has never been perfect, but the one company that really solidifies racist, homophobic, oh, you're really talented, so we're threatened by it, so we're going to stomp on you, is the WWE.
Yeah.
And they have the record to prove it, and it's glaring.
The sad part is they ain't nothing else to really talk about in the WWE. I really want to talk about, because I don't want to talk about the Madcap Moss versus Drew McIntyre. That's a waste of a fucking match, to say the least. I said probably after the Saudi Arabia show, we definitely review it. You know what I'm saying? Because I know I'll watch it and what have you and get your opinion.
If we're going to review it, I'll watch it. I wasn't going to. I was going to kind of get but if we're going to review it, I'll actually watch it.
Because me, I'm the kind of person, I'm just a pure wrestling. Like the product, I still watch it. Because I was like that with TNA. TNA was garbage for a long time, but I still made a point to watch it. Because that's just the wrestling in me. So we're done with WWE because they ain't really much important to talk about. But I do want to bring this up for moving to AEW. Recently had Power Trip, which is one of their big events. And Matt Cardona is now our NWA World Champion. Love it.
Yes, I think that's great.
Love it.
No offense to Trevor Murdoch. Trevor Murdoch, I think, had they gotten to him right after I mean, again, it's always that thing of the right time and the era. Had they got him when he left the WWE and he was still like the Trevor Murdoch of the WWE, I think he would have been a good NWA champion for like a good for a couple of months, like not a transitional champion where he's got done in a month, but like kind of a heelish, thuggish Harley Race type heel. But he like retired for a long time, and obviously he's gained some weight, and that weight has not. I kind of saw a match with him because I'm trying to. Again, this podcast we're getting better every episode, and it's really becoming a thing. So it's kind of in at least in my personal life, I'm trying to adjust my schedule to have time in the day for research, to do the old school profiles, but also watch a lot of stuff that normally, this week I was a bad boy and I got faltered, but I had pussy to fuck. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't think nobody be mad at that,
goddammit. but Murdoch, he doesn't look good. He never was a body guy, but he looks like he gained weight. He doesn't have the charisma. He does not look like a guy who made a comeback and won the, I was like, this guy's not. Whereas Cardona, and I always knew this was going to happen. He's in Impact. He's in, he's in Game Changer. He's in, he's doing stuff online, setting up scandals. He's now the NWA champion. And like you said, I love it. The guy looks like $1 million. Yeah. The guy, will work, and he's willing to. There is no day off for this fucking guy. He's out there to prove a point. So I think if they get behind him, he's going to be a really good heel NWA champion, and he'll take that belt to all the other places he's going, and just and that's what you want. Mm-hmm. If you're a smaller promotion, take my NWA belt to Game Changer and cause chaos, and go in there and be a head breaker, and and be an invader and so on. Like Matt Cardona. Right now, like he's setting himself up for being the, the kind of the loose cannon of.
He's becoming the man in the Indies right now. He's becoming the man in the Indies because he held the Game Changer title. He won the Internet title for Impact, for the Impact title, and that's the NWA World Champion. And also from reading, apparently even Nick Aldis do a rematch, comes out and says, I would do a rematch. I want my rematch. So the next will Nick Aldis is going to be a fire ass match. Because Nick Aldis Cardona transitional champ because they didn't want Nick Aldis to beat Trevor Murdoch, because you also still, for people that keep up with the NWA, you still have the Pope has a title shot waiting on it.
Well, in my opinion, and this is just me, armchair booking, but if you did not have Nick Aldis cash in his match with Murdoch because you didn't want Murdoch to beat him like a second time, then that means that Murdoch was a transitional champion. And again, Murdoch, unfortunately, like I said, life kind of happened. He didn't, it was just like a little bit of a comeback, and it's a nice little, thing to, put on his resume that he was an NWA world champion. I think all this should not, like, you don't make Matt Cardona, unless he's going to be literally too many places at once. I would keep the belt on him a while, and I would because the NWA needs a jolt. The NWA, it's like literally like eating matzah, like unsalted matzah. If you never had a matzah cracker, it's unsalted matzah has no taste. You need to spice it up. You need to get that crowd being loud in that studio. You need the wrestlers to kind of really cut loose. And Matt Cardona will cut a promo in a quiet, dead-ass room and lose his shit and be all the energy in the room. You need that. Like I said, he'll take that belt if you'll let him to Game Changer. He'll take it to Impact, and he'll fucking talk it up, and I'm this, and you ain't shit, and he'll fucking be dirty and psychotic and the whole nine. So I would keep it on him. If you're going to let him do that, because this guy's looking to make up for a lot of lost years of just being a team player in WWE. Nick Aldis is a great NWA champion, and he does the thing with the suit and everything. But if you want the NWA to get back out there again, because they're very much fallen behind because of the pandemic and because all the changes. Matt Cardona could be the guy that by the end of the year, all of a sudden, the NWA championship means something. It's one of those. The phrase. The wrestler needs the belt, not the belt needs the wrestler. Well, the belt needs a wrestler. The belt needs a wrestler to make it relevant again. And I'm sorry, Nick Aldis is an awesome world champion, and he helped get it halfway there, but he's too polished, and I don't think this guy's had a flake of dandruff since he was like 15. you need this guy. I guarantee you, this guy looks so perfect. You could put him in wool tights and make him ride a bike in August in Mississippi, and his balls wouldn't even sweat. You need a guy that can go out there with some smelly balls and like bring attention to the title and make him like a loose cannon and just go. Like, have him just come in and fuck people up and take forever to get his comeuppance and keep the belt on him. And if it's working, keep the belt on him. And it would, and again, get on everybody's ass on the roster of the NWA and in that audience. Have a guy out there like in between commercial breaks and be like, you motherfuckers need to get loud, or we're gonna have you leave and we're gonna bring in new people. Like, be loud, motherfuckers. We're in like by 10.
Be the NBA World Champions, the Pope, because he did a promo on the last show, and man, I swear to God, he channeled Dusty Rhodes, man, and I could tell he used to watch Dusty Rhodes a lot. And also when he was in, I think, what was he? Well, no, he wasn't even there when Dusty Rhodes was there. When he was in because I think he was in ECW and they was doing NXT then, but. It's just like the Pope. He's a good wrestler. His talk game is on fucking point. I'm very surprised.
I'll make it a point. I know of him and I've seen his matches. I haven't seen him recently.
Yeah.
I trust your judgment. I'll go and take a look. Now,
because they drop shows on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Because
it's just, again, it's kind of
having the time.
when you're not busy for so long and then stuff is starting to happen, you have to like kind of readjust. You got to make time. You got to make less time for doing nothing and more time for doing shit. And it's harder than people think. But the thing with the Pope. But again, I think Matt Cardona has something cooking here. I would keep the belt on him for a while and have, if anything, have him deal with all this and then have the Pope chase him through. Like on the show, but also, and like, actually, here's just an idea off the top of my head, and let the fans comment and tell me what they think. Have Cardona, like I said, go out there. He's literally wrestling for like 3 different companies. He's all over the place. He's doing all this shit. Have him with that belt and have him just not every other word is NWA World Champion and cause a stir, and have Pope on the NWA show. Be like, well, where is he? I'm here. Where is he? Well, I'm here. Cut those promos and have great matches. And then after a while, the Pope starts showing up to these places. And that's where, Matt Cardona is beating people. He's jumping people. He's fucking people over. And all of a sudden, the Pope shows up at a Game Changer Wrestler pay-per-view. And all of a sudden, Matt gets a little bit of a comeuppance. It's like, all right, motherfucker, you got me sitting on the NWA studio waiting on your ass. I decided to come fucking get you. And now I'm going to be, I'm now your Black Shadow. I'm your Black Shadow, motherfucker, and have him hunt. And again, Impact, Game Changer, maybe a little AEW, and be like, motherfucker, I'm your Black Shadow. I'm your fucking that Will Smith movie. Like, I'm your magical Negro. I'm gonna follow you everywhere you go and fuck with your shit, and and go after him. And everybody, everybody gets a little bit of a benefit from this feud, and then at the right time on a pay-per-view, an NWA pay-per-view, the Pope wins. Because the NWA, you got to think a little outside the box to get that heat back, because you're not going to have the Rock and Roll Express. Jim Cornette's gone. The connection to the old school is gone. You got to put a little spice on it. You got to make it. You got to make what's old new again, and you got to do some modern methods. So that's kind of how I would do it off the top of my head. And I would keep the Pope strong, and I would keep Mac strong, and then eventually have them. And I would just have the Pope become a constant ball breaker. I would have him cutting promos everywhere that anybody will give him a microphone, and have him own that NWA show. It's like, he ain't coming here because he's afraid. And then, and like I said, Matt Cardona's going to defend the NWA. He's going to fight Moxley for the, it's going to be a NWA champion fighting for the game changer title. Have Pope come out and just stand at ringside and fuck with him. Not even interfere, just fuck with him. And then he loses the match and then comes in and like whoops his ass and sends him running.
Yeah, because to me, I think Nick Aldis can take the loss because he's been champ for I don't know how long, and he can always come back and get the belt.
Yeah,
and to me, I think the money is Matt Cardona, is the Pope, because both of their promos are so on point. Nick Aldis, I like his promo, but it's not as fiery. It don't emotion is that, and he can't get heat like that of Matt Cardona. Like Matt Cardona can love him and hate him in the same fucking promo.
And I'm not saying, push, all this to the back of the thing, give him the North American title, do some interesting stuff with him. But again, the NWA, that show is dry and it's quiet and it's just, and even the last commentary that I heard, I'm like, this is bad. Like, it needs to be rehabbed hard.
I'm gonna tell you, what? I hate that Jim Cornette left the NWA because he was the bright spot when he was there on commentary. I am sorry, the jokes, Jim Cornette. Somebody need to go ahead and spend $1 million and make Jim Cornette, which I know he probably wouldn't even do it because he's making too much doing now. I'm sorry, he was one of the best color one of the best color in the business, and y'all got mad. Joke that really wasn't even, it shouldn't even been an issue.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
And people like to, and here's the funny, and again, it's as far as the people getting offended, there's the thing. I don't want to I'm just gonna glaze over it because this is a wrestling podcast, but there's people actually out there saying horrible, evil shit that need to be dealt with, and they have the right to say it because of free speech, but then they need to feel the consequences. And then there's people like I just said magical Negro, and that is an old movie trope. Okay, I'm not actually trying to, it's like Vagabonds or whatever what it was called, and the magical Negro comes out and teaches the misguided white person, a lesson. The magical Negro. It's an old movie trope. And have him come out and be like, I'm gonna pop up everywhere and show you the way. Now again, I don't use that word. Like, I don't refer to my black friends as, oh yeah, this is my best Negro right here. But people will get bent out of shape over nothing, and companies are afraid.
That was in movies back in the day to describe a certain type black character that comes in to be the
like white people. Like, if we were in a movie in the 50s, I would be the guardian angel, you'd be the magical Negro. And that's basically what it is. It's a guardian angel, but they can't say guardian angel because they got to remind everybody that they're black. Like, the people aren't going to notice. But people do get offended over dumb shit, and it takes away from when people you got to understand, like, okay, somebody misspeaking or somebody using it and not listening to the contents of what they're saying, and they're maybe using an old phrase. Like, for me, I'm sorry, I use it very sparingly, but as long as Republicans are going to be around, I'm going to use it. I use the word retarded. And I understand a lot of people lose their shit when people say retarded. I use it sparingly, but the reason why I push back on this is, one, it's a medical term, and two, when people try to say, well, it's up there, that and the C word is up there with I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. You cannot. The N word is in a league of it is Tom Brady of hatred words. It's got 12 rings. No. I get it. You have a family member or a friend that's mentally challenged and it's offensive to you, but the word is nowhere near, it's nowhere near that level of hatred. And sometimes, and again, I've used it sparingly, but I still use it. And when people get in my face, I go, I gave up. I changed a lot of phrases, and there's a lot of words I don't use anymore. I never really use like racist slangs or a lot, but there's certain phrases that aren't deemed admissible anymore. And I'm like, good, okay, I'm willing to evolve. That one I'm holding on to. And people get offended and want to ruin somebody's life over something innocuous when there's people out there doing really evil shit. And you need to focus on the real evil shit.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's transition to a big that is Keith Lee is now
Yeah.
And damn, did he, to me, best. I gotta put introduction to AEW. Yo, this the Keith Lee that we know and love, not Bearcat Lee. This is the Keith Lee we know and love. He really showed.
Well, they had, he wrestled like he did when he was in PWG or the other thing before he got signed. Like the WWE basically denutted him, and I knew when they signed, I'm like, well, I don't think he's gonna have a good time there, and I was right. No, I actually was watching the match because I have AEW going on in the background, and I'm watching it as we're talking. And no, he and the Private Party did a great job.
Yes,
of selling for him, and he threw them around. And again, he was Keith Lee. He was a cocky, strong as motherfucker Keith Lee. And also, unlike Jay Lethal, he won a match.
Yeah,
because Jay Lethal is yet to win shit. Although he's had a great match with Ricky Starks last week, but
they didn't win that Dynamite. He's on the other bullshit. It's the main show he has not won.
Yeah.
But you're telling me he's there for a cup of coffee. Lana comes back and he's going to leave AEW and go to Ring of Honor.
Don't let him devalue you because, again, wins and losses do matter. Because, and, the thing that worries me about AEW, okay, they signed Keith Lee, and then Jay White is now coming to AEW. It's like, look, you and Tony, and again, AEW has improved so much. I'm actually watching at this moment FTR versus Punk and Moxley, and it's a great match. But the problem is now you have so much talent, and it's there. You gotta okay, you're doing a good job of having matches and then maybe having a couple of feuds, but you have you have too much. It's like trying to cook Thanksgiving dinner on one stove. You want to have all these sides, and you want to have a turkey and a ham, and you want to do this, and it's like you got too much good, and you got no place to put it. And how many more people are you going to sign? Because there's again, I think possibly either somebody needs to buy Impact and put them on a network and give them a 2-hour show and revamp that roster with some of these guys that AEW have signed, or Tony Khan, AEW needs to buy Impact and put it where Dynamite is. Get rid of Dynamite. Not Dynamite, I'm sorry. Get rid of Rampage. Put Impact on Fridays, and keep it separate. Do not allow people to go back and forth until their contract is up. Make it 2 separate, different types of contracts, and give Impact a 2-hour show and take a lot of these guys that you're signing and put them over there. And like I said, revamp. And because there's so much, I don't know, like Jay White, it's like, what are you going to do? You keep signing all these people, and there's only FTR really.
But see, I know why they brought Jay White though. They brought Jay White because what they plan to do is Bullet Club versus Elite, or Bullet Club or / Elite versus the Paradigm, which is going to be the AEW version of Undisputed Era. Because what I'm waiting for, and I'm hoping that Roderick Strong gets out his contract and brings his ass to AEW so they can reform them. Because that was a great ass click.
It was, but for whatever reason, Roderick's re-signed, and I don't know if they will let him. You never tell with WWE, but they're trying to do something with him, so I don't see him going. He could not. You can't replace Roderick, but you can find somebody to fill that 4th slot. But again, that would be a great like a Bullet Club type deal versus the new Paradigm or whatever they're going to call themselves. But again, you have so much going on, and there's certain wrestlers that you insist on. Like again, Orange Cassidy is not really doing anything, but he's on the show every week. And then there's your women division, and again, your tag division. FTR is actually wrestling, but I haven't seen. They're not being pushed to the level that they should be being pushed, and there's a lot of stuff. Like again, there's so much good when they're doing so much good that when they're kind of missing the beat, it's becoming more apparent. And it's like somebody needs to take the checkbook away from Tony and be like, man,
let's develop what we got now. Let's stop signing.
Well, honestly, again, he has, obviously they gave him a second show. And the AEW has been around for like not even, I don't think officially 3 years yet, and so they're doing well enough, and they're putting on better shows, and they're when what they're doing right, they're doing really right. I would if you're going to spend money, then go to Impact, buy it. Last time I looked, the value of Impact was $7 million, and that's everything. So buy it and make it Impact. Rampage, Impact Rampage. Again, keep it a separate company. Leave everybody that you have as a champion. Get all the contracts situated, and then move move Keith Lee, move certain people over there, and be like, look, you signed a 2-year contract. You do not show up on Dynamite at all. It's 2 separate companies, and when it's over, when your contract's up, we're renegotiating. Possibly, keep it under one parent company, but 2 separate divisions. Yeah. And that way you have a third brand, and, again, hire Regal to run your Impact. I mean, I think that could work. And you focus on AEW.
Yeah. And, because they could do the 2 brands like WWE doing, because they have enough roster. But the question is, I wouldn't want them to do two different world champions. Now that's the killer.
The issue is when you do brands, then you're just gonna. It's like, oh, they're doing the WWE thing. With the corporate world, you can buy Impact, move it on over. You own the rights. Now you have enough content. Now, also,
trust me, Impact ain't getting bought. Impact ain't nothing to worry about because they practically own a fucking TV station with access. And now with New Japan coming back, they're really about to make money.
Well, I figured if Tony bought Impact, this is all hypothetical in fantasy booking. If he bought it again, it's to somebody who's a billionaire, it's like to him it's worth like it's like spending a quarter. You just move the show over. There's not a whole lot you have to do maneuvering, and essentially do the corporate structure and keep it separate. Doing a brand split, it's more of a comparison to WWE.
Now, they could do what NWA is doing. The NWA World title is the main focus on Power. And then they have another show called NWA USA, where the main focus is the national heavyweight title. They could do it that way to where you have Rampage, which is all about the TNT title, the TBS title. You feel what I'm saying? You have your roster built around that. You feel me? That way I throw Keith Lee at, because you also know that Sammy Guevara is supposed to eventually wrestle Daniel Bryan, which we already know what's going to happen with that TNT champion. And I'm all for that shit. So they could easily do it that way, because the problem is that when you're trying to fit everybody onto Dynamite main show, you're not going to be able to highlight everybody perfectly, period. And I think with Rampage, because even though they're doing an hour, I think at some point they're going to decide to go 2 hours and be like, we got a big ass roster. Let's separate the roster, not like a brand split, but these guys featured on Rampage mainly. These are featured on Dynamite. And then when you have the big events like the pay-per-views, that's when you mesh them together. You feel me?
I would have to be convinced that because again, that actually is not a bad idea at all. But the problem is the temptation to intermingle becomes too great. Whereas if you had 2 corporate entities and you had like legal contracts that basically like, okay, Matt Cardona is the now Impact World Heavyweight Champion, and he's over here causing chaos. And he could talk, and here's the thing, they could talk all the shit they want on their show, but it's like, well, he's signed a 3-year deal with Impact, so I don't know what, like, he's not going to be in AEW anytime soon. They would have to really be disciplined and be very careful how and when they intermingle the talent between the shows to keep them separated, because when you intermingle and you're trying to have two separate brands, you have to, like, and also the brand should have a different kind of style. Like, maybe give Rampage to the Bucks and Omega and have them do that, but it could be more that style, where keep Punk and Danielson and everything, and keep it more that modern / old school style of wrestling. It's easier said than done, and it's just a matter of discipline and being able to juggle all these creative personalities and telling some wrestlers, like, hey, you're not going to get your own way today. You're going to have to. You're not going to be the top guy for another couple of months. You got to deal with it. You got to put on the big boy pants and you got to deal with it.
Yeah, because to me, it's what's the word I'm looking for? To me, it's about building it. It's about building the stars, and because the last episode did over 1 million, actually 1.12 million to be exact. And it was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I think that they're getting into their groove. Now, the one thing I do want to talk about is that I had to really go out of that whole show. Thank you, Tony Khan, for doing a Texas Death Match fucking properly. I love the fact that Dan Lambert at the beginning of took the top rope off. That alone made that match just great to me. Because one, the buckshot Larry is his finisher. He uses the top rope. So the whole story was, even when he had Lance Archer dead to rights, he couldn't finish him for the longest because he had no way to do the buckshot. Yeah. Like the fact that they got Juice. I am sorry, a match, this just me, maybe I'm old school. Texas Death Match, I need blood. Cage match, I need blood.
Yeah.
Strap match, I need blood. I need to see blood,
because that's the point of the match. And back in the old days, that was when the color was, and it meant, or in a very physical, like Ric Flair would do an hour draw, and he would bleed in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he start doing the head shake, and he start doing the backing off, because there's a science to doing the 1 hour draw where, the traveling champion would come in and it'd be like, can our local champion can our local hero beat the champ? And, then around the 45-minute mark, you would see a change in the pace. And then by the 50-minute mark, he's like, oh my God, he's coming back. And then in that last 5 to 10 minutes, it goes from, can our local hero, can he beat the traveling champion, to, can the champion hold on? He's in trouble. And, and then that's why they always had it perfectly timed to where the challenger would have the pin, and it'd be the 1, the 2 bell ring.
Yeah.
Oh no, you didn't beat our guy. You just held on long enough. And that was the art to it. Same thing with the blood. The blood, it does need. That's why the Extreme Rules pay-per-view for WWE is the one I hate the most, because you have an entire card of specialty matches and not one drop of blood. And it's absolutely ridiculous. You're trying to. I don't know. You're trying to eat a pork chop and have it be kosher at the same time. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You can't have both. And I have not seen the match yet, but I am going to watch it. Dory Funk Jr., a little old school. Dory Funk Jr. developed the match. He created it, and he was a master of it. And he did that because sometimes you would have either, for whatever reason, not enough wrestlers, or wrestlers would skip out. So he would have the Texas Death Match, which can go on, and I had to fact check, but I think like there were times where the match went on for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And there were bloody affairs, and that way you I don't know, had 3 matches on the card, but the one match was this all out Donnybrook that went 2 hours.
Yeah.
Cactus Jack and Mick Vader in Halloween Havoc '93, I believe, had one of the best main event, Texas Death Match. But one of the all-time best. I'm going, and I do apologize to anybody. I kind of slacked on the Twitter page. I have to I realized I have to make an adjustment on how I access the thing.
Yeah.
I was trying to do it. I have my Twitter on the app, and then I have the Twitter for the show on my internet, and you can't access anything when it's on the internet. So I have to kind of do a little old man has to do a little technological movement so I can access the wrestling Twitter a little easier and keep the updates going. So you have to let Grandpa take a day to put that in. But there's a match. There was Dutch Mantell and Jerry Lawler, I believe, 86, 87 versus Buddy Landell and Bill Dundee. And the match, I believe, went like 40 some minutes with 27 falls with a really original finish. I'm going to find it and post the YouTube link on the Twitter today. Grandpa's going to figure out how to access the Twitter, and I'm going to put the thing on there. And it's a great match. I mean, unfortunately, the entirety of the match, as far as anybody knows, doesn't exist. But what's on YouTube is amazing. And then they did this really original finish. And it's one of the best Texas Death matches I've ever seen. And actually, finish. I know you got something to say, but you actually just reminded me of something I wanted to bring up on the show. But say what you were going to say.
No, because it was about what was going on with that Texas Death Match, and I even loved the ending where he convinced the referee to bend over, wrap the barbed wire,
I fell for that one.
And clotheslined Archer, and they both went through the 2 tables, period. And of course he got back in the ring, so he got back in the ring, and Archer didn't get up for the 10 count because they did it because most normal death matches is not a 10 count, it's really a pinfall. So I like the way that they did it as a last man standing type Texas Death Match versus a pinfall.
Well, what I'm saying? Well, I mean, I know they missed. Isn't that the point of a Texas Death Match? You pin, and then there's a 10 count to answer the. You have a 10 count to answer to get to your feet, and then the match continues.
Yeah. But see, I remember the original was pinfalls.
No, I see. Okay, so now we're gonna have to. I'm gonna make a note. Let me get a pen. I'm gonna make a note and see if I'm gonna research the old rules because the reason why the match was able to last so long when Dory Funk Sr. did it was you get the pin and then there's like a 10 count, and that's what helped keeps the match going on.
Yeah, because I remember reading about the first death, especially when Jim Cornette was talking about it. It was multiple falls, so it was like. It was to when one of them couldn't go anymore, I take it, or couldn't answer the 10 count after the fall was over.
We're going to have to...
we got to look that up.
We're going to have to... I'm going to do the research on that, and we'll have an answer for you guys. I thought that was the... because I always thought the last man standing match was the guy was down, and he had a 10 count to get to his feet.
Yeah, that's last man standing.
You had to get the pin.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So we about to find out right now. I just looked it up.
I did have one day where I did a little bit of research, and I kind of felt that.
My bad. Hold on. I'm about to read it to you. A Texas Death Match is a wrestling match similar to a last man standing match. The only difference is being that you must be pinned, then a 10 count is initiated.
That's for the Texas Death?
Yes.
Okay.
So you had to be pinned and a 10 count to be initiated. So after the fall, you still had to be able to answer the 10 count in the match. If you answer the 10 count, then the match continued.
Yeah. That's why. And there's a brilliant idea. Like Dory, his sons are so famous that I think he kind of gets overlooked, but was like a really a wrestling genius. You know, one of those like in the vein of Billy Graham and Shire out in California, like a booking mind. And because the Amarillo territory apparently was never like a big money drawing territory. You didn't go there to get famous, but it was a solid territory to work and a great place to go to school. And that was all because of the Funk family and Dory Senior. But what I was saying, I felt it's funny because the Texas Death Match is one of those matches that if you work it right, like you said, it could go for an hour and a half if people are going to be engaged.
Yeah.
I discovered Pot of Gold, which again, I'm going to be posting a lot of stuff in the Twitter page in the weeks to come, is the elusive Portland territory. I found like a channel that has some stuff from the 70s and 80s, a lot of stuff from the 90s, but like Portland wrestling was always famous for generating stars, but also having just great, solid wrestling. And I saw Dutch Savage and a very young, very healthy Iron Sheik, and I think it might have been the late 70s, early 80s, have a coal miner glove match. And this is not WWE, like even in 83, 84, this was like young and like he can go and he was still like really lean. And the coal miner glove matches usually suck. But these guys, and I was going to put it on the Twitter specifically because it showed the art and the science behind wrestling. These guys worked the match, and it was a bloody match before the glove even came into play, and they were just in and out of the ring, and it was and it was brawling, and it was really good and engaging. Then the glove came off the pole, and then they started fighting over the glove. So eventually the match continued with drama because now the glove is on the ground of what's going on. And then finally, I don't want to give away the ending, but somebody grabbed the glove and, used the glove and got the win. And I was sitting there going, this might be well, it is the best coal miner glove match I've ever seen. And I've seen guys who people would argue are better wrestlers have that match, and the match was like a fart in church. Dutch Savage, who was a legend in Portland wrestling, and the Iron Sheik, who I'm going to assume he started doing the Iron Sheik gimmick in the late 70s. So I'm assuming this is still young, early Iron Sheik, and they were going at it. And the Iron Sheik, was always, he was good in the 80s because he knew how to work that gimmick. But when you watch a healthy Iron Sheik work, it was really, really good. And Buddy Rose, I've been watching a lot of Buddy Rose this week, and Buddy Rose is one of those forgotten, unsung heroes. Like he was in Portland for 7 years for a reason. Like he knew how to work, he knew how to do the drama and everything else. Like he is a an incredible wrestler. I always knew he was good, but to watch him have several different types of matches and the way he worked the crowd and everything, had the weight not gotten away from him in the 80s, I honestly think you would have saw a lot more on a bigger stage. Hell, like we were talking about the the Midnight Rockers versus Doug Summers and Buddy Rose. Even when he had the weight, he was a great worker. When Kerry Von Erich came in the 90s, they had him do a program, quote unquote, with Buddy Rose to get him ready for the audience. And Buddy, a big old boy then, was able to make Kerry look like $1 million and keep pace with him. So I'm going to be, I think, next week we'll do a little more talking about Portland wrestling. But it was really, that coal miner glove match, it's a real science to pull off those specialty matches. There's a way to do it, and there's a science behind it, and it's just really impressive to see guys that like, oh, this match is gonna suck, and then actually make it like, can they do it again? Can they come back next week and do this? So
that's it for pretty much the week in review for wrestling for the most part, the most important part. So please check us out. Pro Wrestling Smoke. We do Pro Wrestling Smoke WS on Twitter, which I'm on now, and I'm tweeting something on my little hot, because like I told you before, I had no internet. Now it's time for Ode to the Old School. And like we told you, this is Black History Month. We're highlighting Black history within wrestling. Hey, it's funny that we talked about on this Bearcat Wright. Now we about to the original with the Bearcat Wright. You know,
Yes.
the other guys that used the Bearcat, but he was the first and the main one. And he was actually first Black man technically to hold a major world title at the time. In 1961, he defeated Killer Kowalski to the big time pro wrestling champion. And actually he won this belt 5 days before Martin Luther King was murdered, which I said, damn, that's huge. You know, so tell us a little bit about Bearcat Wright, bro.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring that up because I actually learned that factoid this week. But what he was the first Black world heavyweight champion, and it was, but it's recognized. He's recognized as the WWA world heavyweight champion, the first Black heavyweight champion, which is a very popular progressive title.
He died for a dream speech. Let me correct that. Go ahead.
Yeah. And he, in 1963, the World Wrestling Association, which was based in LA, which was a hot jumping territory, very progressive. We talked about it last week where Jim Mitchell went there and made, like, for the time, like John Cena money as a Black man. It was a huge star and wrestled all the big names. If you were a big name, Wild Red Berry, Gorgeous George, the Destroyer, Freddie Blassie, you were in the WWA out in California. And in 1963, he beat Freddie Blassie for the WWA title and became the first Black heavyweight champion. And this was the highlight of his career. Up until that point, he was a wrestling star. He wrestled through the 40s and 50s. He did a lot of tag team wrestling with, like, the big names of the day, like Haystack Calhoun and Bobo Brazil, and basically being the smaller athletic guy to come in and, like, wow the crowd over the larger partner. But the highlight of his career, in the prime of his career, was winning the world title from Freddie Blassie. And he was also kind of an innovator with using drop kicks and kicks. And he actually used a version of the claw that he just called the Claw, which was made famous by Fritz von Erich playing the evil German. And unfortunately, where we got the heartwarming story of Jim Mitchell, who was steadfast and always had his shit together and saved for his future. And there was, a rare happy ending for a wrestler, and not just like a Black wrestler, but any wrestler. I read in Freddie Blassie's biography where he touches on it briefly. They, after a period of time, they wanted, Bearcat to drop the title, which is just, how it was in wrestling to this day. When they tell you that you're going to drop it, you drop it. And the Bearcat, fought against segregation like a lot of Black wrestlers did, and came up the hard way. And Freddie, and apparently, and it's well documented that when he won the world title, it kind of changed him. Like, he became obsessed with being the world champion. He was a very good champion. He put on the shows. He had great matches, but he did not want to lose it. And he kind of had a little bit of a distrust of whites. There was a little bit of anger there. And I believe also because this is, obviously after the death of like Dr. King and everything and all the stuff that's going on in the 60s, he wasn't as diplomatic as a Jim Mitchell. And he was supposed to drop the title to Eduardo Carpentier, yes, who ironically had a hand in creating the AWA title, but he refused to drop the title to Carpentier. And the thing about Bearcat was he's a second generation. His dad was a famous boxer at the time, who also had the term, use the name Bearcat. And unfortunately, I did not have a chance to make solid notes, and I did not have the benefit of a well written book. I had a research fact, but but also not only was he strong and athletic, but he himself had an 8-0 record in professional boxing. So while he wasn't a shooter in a traditional sense, Bearcat was nobody to fuck with. Bearcat knocked your ass out. Bearcat don't fuck about. So he wouldn't drop it to Carpentier. And at the time, Freddie Blassie was held up in the hospital with some bruised ribs. And Freddie was like, well, the LaBelles who run the territory, including the famous Judo Gene LaBelle, who we'll probably talk about on the road because he had a big part in wrestling history and MMA. The LaBelles went to him worried because, like, we can't get the belt off this guy, and this guy's like a legitimate badass. So Freddie's like, don't worry, I'll talk to Bearcat. I'm his friend. And Freddie, they were friends. And Freddie, did the honors for him. And it was time for Bearcat now to do the honors. And he was not going to give up that belt. But Freddie went to him and he said, okay, you know what we're doing tonight? And he's like, yes. I'm going over tonight. It's like, yes, you're passing the belt back to me. And Bearcat was like, yes. They went to the ring in the Olympic Auditorium, and immediately Bearcat, who was just ridiculously strong and capable in the ring, and Freddie had injured ribs at the time. Bearcat started to manhandle Freddie and basically double cross Freddie in a real life double cross, and essentially knocked Freddie out. Like, he was outside the ring, and again, Bearcat, being a son of a boxer and a former pro boxer, knocked the shit out of him and sent him to the mat, and he got counted out, and then he left the ring. Now they have a real problem because one, Freddie Blassie was very upset that Bearcat would do this to him, and clearly, the whole thing had gone to his head, and looking back, being a black man in that era, you can understand now some of the emotion that he was going through and his distrust of white promoters and everything. So they set up a rematch between him and Freddie, and they had a little surprise for Bearcat. When he came to the ring, there was Freddie Blassie. He came out to go to the ring, and in the ring, waiting for him, were Freddie Blassie and Judo Gene LaBelle. And real quick, Judo Gene LaBelle was an MMA groundbreaker. He was a shooter. He was an exceptional
judo.
Yeah, like really a badass at judo. Like, he has I think he might have a red belt or close to it. I think he does have a red belt now. And judo, and Gene was never a great worker, but he was just a badass. So basically, they were gonna have him wrestle Judo Gene LaBelle that night as a replacement for Freddie. And Judo, as badass as Bearcat was in his own right, Judo was gonna, if he wanted that belt, he was gonna take it.
Yeah.
And Bearcat saw this in the ring, turned around and walked out of the ring and left the building. And they had no choice but to strip him of the title and put it on Carpentier. And Carpentier dropped it back to Freddie. And, it was a great moment in history. Unfortunately, not the grandest, title run that you would hope for the first black world champion. And after that, Bearcat was blackballed for a time. He went up to like Portland and worked other territories, but he was a draw and he was a charismatic wrestler. So he continued to draw money. So eventually the black ball was lifted and he came back to Los Angeles territory. He never quite achieved the same heights. He never got the world title back. But eventually in the 70s, he retired from active ring duty and became a manager in the Memphis territory where he was.
I saw the promo he did.
Yeah,
With,
yeah. He managed the Mongolian Stomper, and again, it was a thing of again, people back then were a little wrestlers, had to kind of look out for themselves. So sometimes, a payoff dispute would happen, or they didn't like the way the 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 narrative was going to go. So wrestlers would just leave. So one day you would have a big angle shot, and somebody would get upset, and they'd be gone. And that was kind of Bearcat's remainder of his career. He was a manager, a great talker, and kind of would show up, something would happen. He would leave. People get mad at him. He's never coming back. He would make, obviously would welcome him back because at the end of the day, he drew money. Unfortunately, he passed from sickle cell in 1982. And, but a greater tragedy. And again, I can't really give him too much grief for doing the screw job on Freddie or not wanting to drop the belt or being very distrustful, because again, when you think about what a lot of these black wrestlers had to deal with, in a lot of territories, there's segregation, there's, they didn't get paid as much as like a white wrestler, just for the simple fact, you're black. The mindset, I think, it was more about just what he was dealing with emotionally and not being able to process it like a black man would be able to today, and other than him just getting an ego and being a dick. I think it's important to point out that he just wasn't being an asshole. It was probably a lot of stuff throughout the years of being in wrestling and in boxing that he had to endure, and it kind of so he had to endure that, but that was the very first black heavyweight champion. The second one, we're gonna touch on the first next few. The WWA World Heavyweight Title had two iterations: the Los Angeles and the Indianapolis under the Crusher. The second World Black Heavyweight Champion was the famous Bobo Brazil in 1966.
Yeah, I saw that.
For the Los Angeles version of the title, and he beat Buddy Austin in September of 1966 to become the second world champion. I believe in 1968 they the NWA, I believe, took over and they switched it from the WWA to NWA Hollywood, and that was the end of the WWA era in Los Angeles. And then the Crusher took the belt and the WWA and went to Indianapolis, where he was like a god there, and started the promotion and furthered the world title. And in 1972, we got our third black world heavyweight champion in Art Sailor Thomas. He was a solid journeyman who did a lot to fight segregation during the 60s. And, his fights were rewarded with a world title run, with the WWA, not the rebranded NWA Hollywood. And the WWA Indianapolis title was actually, as much as the Los Angeles territory was progressive, the WWA Indianapolis version was more so, because they had, Arcelo Thomas, who served as a merchant marine and then, broke into wrestling, become one of their world champions. But, I'm sorry, it was Dick the Bruiser that ran the Indianapolis. I get them sometimes mixed up. It was the Crusher and the Bruiser, but the Dick the Bruiser ran the WWA in Indianapolis. The second world champion the WWA Indianapolis had was the Big Cat Ernie Ladd, who we're going to be talking about in depth next week, who really was a groundbreaking wrestler in so many different ways that he really should have his own profile. Of course, I have to have my own profile, Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh, you big dumb son of a bitch. You're sitting here having a podcast and you're trying to tell me I'm just a footnote. I need my whole damn profile. I cover the ground I walk on. I'd rather fight a man than make love to a woman. I'm Big Cat Ernie Ladd, you big dumb son of a bitch.
And y'all heard it. Yeah, next week we're doing Big Ernie Ladd, because I'm sorry I grew up on that motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, no, he just had a great promo. He could work. He was a giant. He did, and he was also, again, we're going to touch on it, the first black booker in wrestling.
Yes.
And you told me you had another podcast to shoot, and I did not have, and I'm going to touch on it. I'm going to touch on it a little bit before we do Ernie Lads next week. I'm going to do a quick, thing, but I want to mention some of the other, because again, WWE, I had to dig for the info on some of these Black World Champions, because the WWE, again, is in their revisionist history, is trying to paint a picture. But a third WWA world champion for Indianapolis in '87 was a wrestler I don't know very much about, but Calypso Jim. He was known at one time as Bobo Brazil Jr., and he held that title, until the company folded. He won the title in '87, and I believe he held it until the company folded in 1988. You also have Iceman King Parsons, who was a huge star in WCCW Texas with the Von Erichs. They broke off from the NWA after Kerry was, had the NWA belt taken off, and they made their own world champion. And Iceman Parsons had a run as a world champion. I'm just going to run through it. Now that was in 1988, and then the first person 4 years later, and this is where everybody thinks this is the first Black world heavyweight champion, because it was the first time in a major national television, and that was Ron Simmons beating Big Van Vader in 1992, and that's what a lot of people. He was the first WCW Black heavyweight champion, not the first NWA Black heavyweight champion, but the first WCW Black heavyweight champion. And I watched some of his title matches recently in research for this, and it was a shame because it was not the best run it could be. They didn't really give him anything to work with. It's they basically sandbagged him as a champion, and a few short months later, I believe in either December of '92 or January of '93, he lost the title back to Vader. But he did not, and he never got a chance at the world title again. I always felt that WWE made a big mistake not giving Farouk the world title. And that, and then, you have guys obviously like Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Booker T. The next notable champion would be R-Truth, who is in fact the actually first recognized Black NWA heavyweight champion in 2002.
One more thing, Bob Sapp became to hold the New Japan world title.
Yes, yes, yes. And they actually, I was coming down the list, and actually, yes, he was the first and only Black man to hold the IWGP heavyweight champion in 2004. And then there's a wrestler named Ruckus who held the ZCW World Heavyweight Champion. And I'm not to take anything away from Evolve or CZW, but the last two major groundbreaking Black world champions until maybe AEW would be Bob Sapp winning, especially being a Gaijin and being Black and winning the world heavyweight title in Japan, but the NWA being the Lombardi Trophy of wrestling, the Stanley Cup of wrestling, to go that many decades, and the first actual recognized world champion was R-Truth, who was a good champion, but the fact that it took to 2002. The WWA holds the distinction of crowning the first. Let's see here: the 1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 Black world champions held a WWA world title. The WWE and the WCW and the NWA were long, way behind the curve. And WWE and NWA coming in at the very last. Japan, I'm going to give a little bit of a a little bit of a break too because of the culture. Like it's a big deal if a white guy Gene won a title, and even then they never really held the title for very long.
And this is when they were doing mixed martial arts, and they was being more real with their wrestling.
Yeah.
They were mixed martial artists, karate people, and stuff like that. That's part of the reason why Bob Sapp won, because he literally, legitimately won the match. It wasn't they said you're going to win it. No, he actually beat the person to fuck up to win the belt. So it was actually a real fight that went down in that match. So people can understand.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Sapp was one of those cases of he just had the genetics and he didn't really, even if you watch his fighting, he was never a technical fighter. He was just so big and so imposing, and he actually burnt himself out between the MMA and the K1 and then doing the wrestling. He made so much money in Japan, but he was doing. I mean, he like Dick Beyer. He just wasn't a fighter or a wrestler. He became a huge superstar. So he was just taking every opportunity and just burnt himself out. I believe his title, his run in Japan ended after losing a fight to an opponent that they thought he was gonna just clean the floor with. And I think he lost the fight and then just got on the plane and went home. And I believe he was stripped of the I have to double check. He was stripped of the IWGP title because he just went home. And he said, "It's like, man, I'm tired. I have dogs that I don't even ever see." He just wants to I just want to be able to take a day off and go on, So he did that thing that I'm currently myself in my career trying to do, where I'm trying to push myself to the point where it's like, okay, I gotta take a month off or something, and this week was a little crazy, but a good way. I'm making the adjustment to being busy again, but it's like, yeah, you want to be able to grab all those opportunities, and Bob did. Point of research, just a note. I got some information from the Listen You Pets and Nut Geeks, the biography of Classy Freddie Blassie. If you want to see the list of the 28 Black World Heavyweight Champions, you can go to lastwordonsports.com. The title of the article is Kofi Kingston becomes 28th Black World Champion. You could go by and review the list. As we go forward,
and tweet the list on it. And the list on the if you're able to tweet it on the
I'm gonna tweet all that stuff. I'm gonna tweet. I just like to because again we're trying to build this podcast into being one of the best wrestling podcasts, and a lot.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that when I post a photo or I post where I get the research from, even if I post a photo on the Twitter, I want to make sure I give the credit to the photographer or the website. So we're trying to do things the right way and the honorable way, and make sure everybody gets credit for the content that we're bringing you. I am gonna, start on Ernie Ladd probably tonight. Because there's so much to talk about with Ernie Ladd. He had so many, not only a brilliant football career, and he played for my Chiefs, but he went on and, he was a Black Andre the Giant, but he did so much more, So yes, again, and also at the end of this, I'm going to compile a large list and put it on Twitter and talk about it in the show 2 shows from now. It really is important to push back on the revisionist history of the WWE. Black wrestlers have had such a huge impact on pro wrestling as far as tag teams, breaking barriers, helping end segregation, and all it. That when I started this project, I really wanted to honor Black history, and I really wanted to honor the Black wrestlers, and so much they've done so much that literally it would have to be 8 segments, and we'd have to wait 2 months so I can grab and reach for all the info to make and do right by everybody. So it is such a vast history. Don't let it be fooled. The Rock was not the first Black World Champion. Ron Simmons, much respect to him, was not the first Black World Champion. No. A lot of great wrestlers set the standard and opened a lot of doors. So people like Ernie Ladd and Ron Simmons and Tony Atlas and everything could, reach the level that they did. And I promise this week, old man Billy is gonna fix the Twitter so we can access it easier and put stuff up. And I'm gonna put up a lot of pictures and clips of like Bearcat and Nerdy Lad and Bobo Brazil and some interviews and stuff, and see how great these guys are, because they were some working, talking fools, all of them. They were all the total package. They could do it all because they had to.
Most definitely. So people, there you go. Another show in the books of Pilgrim on Wrestling, aka Pro Wrestling Smoke.
Two tired old men who had bad weeks. We still were able to bring it to you. So we did it, you young. So get off my lawn.
Please.
Pull up your pants.
Damn it.
Turn
I don't like you young.
Rap. Stop listening to that rock and rap, hippin' and hoppin' and music, and tie your shoes and call your mothers.
Oh my God. That's why I love doing these shows with you, man. It's like you make me laugh and make my day feel better. I swear. I love my show.
I'm not gonna lie, same to you. I was kind of dragging a little bit this morning, and I felt bad because I was like, okay, you live and you learn. I was like, okay, I got to really get a schedule down, and I managed to get the research that I needed, but it wasn't as organized as I wanted. But when you called me and said that we were gonna allow the audience to just listen to the show for the next month so they can get a vibe of what we do and that we were getting listens, I really appreciate that, because I actually love doing this show. And I love talking to you, but I really, if you're a fan and you're digging this show and you're with us as we kind of set up the format and we put this thing together in real time, thank you. And it really makes it worthwhile knowing that people are enjoying the show. So, I love talking to you as well. And I love that the fans are enjoying the show.
Yeah, most definitely. So we got to run because we got shit to do, and it's Super Bowl Sunday. So with that being said, life is a learning experience. What's the point of experience? You didn't learn anything. Smoke this over. Talk to y'all later.
Talk to y'all later. You guys have a good one. Go Rams. Just for today.
Hey, how you doing? Let me tell you about a great deal. Why don't you come on over to the Premium Smoke Room? There ain't no smoke like Premium Smoke. I'm talking about 4 premium podcasts. I'm talking about Miss Spit Queen and the Porn Rap Star. I'm talking about Pilgrim on Wrestling. I'm talking about Causing Havoc with Princess Havoc, as well as the Reed Daily Report. Oh, I'm sorry, 5 STO Dark. Plus also extra premium episodes from some of the hottest ladies and gents in the business of porn. And all this for $4.99 a month. I'm talking about 5 to 6 extra episodes a week on top of the free shit that you get. So do the math. Great deal. Only on Spotify, only on Anchor. Come check me out. Come catch this premium smoke.
Black Wall Street is now online, baby. That's right. Visit the GW District. Shop the very best in men's and women's apparel and accessories, home decor, office supplies, books, pantry items, and so much more. The GW District is a retail marketplace of Black-owned products and media. We're both veteran and Black-owned, and we're bringing you the best online shopping experience with products made by small businesses. Come and experience the GW District difference today at shopgwdistrict.com. That's shopgwdistrict.com. The GW District, a retail marketplace of Black-owned products and media.
That's right!